I'm a former porn director, ask me anything. I'm an American man who produced and directed porn for about 3 years. I spent my first year making amateur videos, mostly POV style, with girls from my hometown, and then the following 2 years making anal pornography for a large existing studio in Europe. In that relatively short span of time, I saw a lot of crazy shit and learned a lot of things about how the industry works. I'm happy to answer your burning questions and to share some amusing anecdotes. So ask away. What is something you said almost daily on the job that would be weird in any other job? Open your booty. When interviewing for your gig at the marketing solutions firm, did the interviewers inquire about your past employment experiences? If yes, how did you tackle it? Yes, of course. I told them I worked in photography and video production out of college, and that I also had experience with web design and it, which is all true. What got you started in this industry? How did you go about recruiting actors? I got started for the worst and most naive reason possible. I was bored and thought that porn would be a fun way to make some extra spending money. It spiraled out of control and eventually became a full-time job until I decided to quit and regain some normalcy in my life. I didn't know anyone in the industry starting out, so I made amateur films with local college girls who I recruited at bars and frat parties. I was, at the time, a senior in college myself. I had a website, now defunct, where I published this content, and when I had accumulated enough videos, I submitted my work to a European porn producer via cold call email. He saw potential and agreed to take me on as a director/producer at his company. I spent 2 years there, gradually taking on more responsibility until I eventually became the de facto studio boss. My actual boss controlled the finances, but I did everything else. He spent most of his time drinking and trying to bang the models. How did the payment from your first website go? You put up videos and got views. Then who paid you for that? My customers paid me. It was a subscription site. It just barely turned a profit, and I ended up shutting it down almost immediately after I left for Europe. In fact, I never even got around to releasing everything I had shot for it. Did you pay the locals you started off with? How did you convince them to do it? Yes, of course. I asked nicely. Do you ever get used to just seeing a dude's peen through your viewfinder? Yep. It eventually becomes a job like everything does. Follow-up question. How has it affected your love/sex life? Initially, it didn't. After a while, I began noticing a reduced sex drive. I spent so much time thinking about sex and watching sex that I wanted to think about other things when I came home at night. I didn't have any performance issues or weird fetishes, but I lacked the basic desire to have sex. Those problems disappeared after about 2 weeks away from the industry. My love life wasn't affected because I didn't have one prior to doing porn. I, briefly, dated one of the models while I was in Russia, and I went out with a few random girls in St. Petersburg once or twice, but didn't have any steady girlfriends. What was it like dating the models? How did you meet/ask her out? Was it weird or different in any big way? I only dated one of the models, and she had already quit porn when we met. She started doing it again after the breakup. I met her at the office when she came in to collect her money from a previous shoot. Wasn't weird or different in any big way. Porn stars are people too, and this girl did not qualify as a star by any means. She only did a handful of scenes. How many tens of dollars do you pay for the average porn script? I shot gonzo pornography, mostly POV style. No scripts. Sorry, but what does that mean? It's a genre of pornography that dispenses with fake stories and focuses entirely on the sex, usually featuring a handheld dynamic camera. The idea is to put the viewer inside the scene. Does the director get a spin after the shoot is over? Not usually. I won't say it never happened, but porn is a business and the vast majority of the models have no desire to sleep with the director. What about the times it did happen? What were the circumstances? I slept with 3 of the models I scouted in the States. The circumstances were your typical college hookup situations. I dated one of the models in Europe and obviously slept with her pretty often. I was friends with one of the models in Europe and slept with her casually after a party. Two of the models gave me a tag team mouthwash blowjob at a party, but I don't count that. Tag team mouthwash air job. What does this mean? It means they swish mouthwash to kick their salivary glands into overdrive, which makes for ultra slobbery air jobs. They rinse before actually sucking your peen, though. When you dated the model in Europe, did she continue to do porn while you two were dating? Was that an issue for you? If so, how did you view it / handle it? She had already stopped when we started dating. Since the breakup, she has gotten back into it. What's your take on the condom referendum in LA County? I think it's dumb. None of the studios want it. None of the performers want it. The audience doesn't want to see condoms on screen. It's just legislators playing white knight. There's public mensaed reasons. Makes people more likely to use condoms. Same reason the US military allows film and television makers to use their guys and expensive multi-billion-dollar crap, but only particular films and televisions. Okay, but that's a false equivalence. One is censorship. The other is selective promotion. How the quack is it false equivalence? They're influencing film to make people think what they want them to think. Only difference is method of execution. It's a false equivalence because one actively prohibits producers from doing something, shooting without condoms, while the other doesn't prohibit them from doing anything. The military can deny support to film and television productions without infringing upon their ability to make films in the manner of their choosing. I can see it as a disadvantage for companies in LA County, but if it were applied countrywide, it would put everyone on a leveled playing field and probably end up saving some lives in the process. The rate of HIV infection in the porn industry is statistically about as low as you can get it. One case every 5 to 6 years is really ducking good, statistically speaking. People inflate the danger because they associate porn in their minds with promiscuity and risk. Do all performers are required to pass HIV or any ETS test before going into the action? Yes. It's not technically a legal requirement, but I've never met any producers who don't require it at their studios. What is some of the crazy crap that you saw? I've seen girls fart and shit uncontrollably during deep butt scenes, mostly the former, thank God, and dudes get boners that lasted so long due to Viagra and Caverject abuse that they had to be rushed to the hospital to have the blood drained from their dicks. I've had to deal with angry boyfriends who found out that their girlfriends were doing porn. I've met egomaniacal producers who think they are tapping into some kind of occult energy by making porn. I've been present while Russian police raided the set because of voice complaints. How often did the boyfriends come on the set? A few of the models brought their boyfriends to the set to supervise us for every scene they did. Most of them were not dating anyone. There were a couple instances of models who had boyfriends, but neglected to tell them about their work in porn. We had visits from those boyfriends once they found out. I suspect they would yell at their girlfriends until she told them the location of the studio. I'm sorry, can we go back to that bit about occult energy? What the heck is that about? Yeah, there are a number of producers in the adult industry who believe they are summoning your sexual energy through their products. They use tricks and symbols of the occult to facilitate this. Keep your eye open for them, and you might notice a few things. Go on. There's nothing else to say about it. Just look for signs of the occult in certain studios' work. What do you tell your family you do? I told my dad the truth after a few months. He was pretty cool about it. I don't think he approved exactly, but he never gave me a hard time. I never told my mother. I just said that I was working for a tech company in Russia, which she accepted because I majored in computer science and actually interviewed with Kaspersky at one point, but didn't get an offer. I'm now working for a tech company that develops marketing solutions for small businesses. It's a named company, but not on the level of a Google or a Microsoft. How do you get into this industry? I don't want to be on camera, but I have a degree in film and I know how to edit. Do you think there's any place for me in the porn industry? The easiest way to get in is to know someone on the inside. Failing that, you can cold call industry professionals with your resume. It helps if you can display a knowledge of the industry and a familiarity with the major institutions and power players. I started out on my own with money I had earned on the stock market, then submitted my work to several different producers using cold call emails. One of them eventually gave me an opportunity, and I took it. If you are specifically interested in editing, you can try submitting something. That shows your proficiency. Focus on sound design in particular. We often have our editors remove directors' voices in post. Was it tough to not get hard while watching, or did you just let it happen? After a while, you don't. It just becomes a job like any other. You do occasionally get hard when the girl is super hot, or when she's really into the scene. That passion becomes very arousing after weeks of shooting models who only do it for the money. One of the most passionate models I ever worked with was Arwen Gold. That woman loves sex and specifically can't get enough of booty hole sex. She was scouted by a super hardcore company called Cineplex and had already done everything you can imagine by the time we got her. Her asshole looks like an entry wound, but she is beautiful and has a fantastic body like a model's, and I swear her passion almost shook the walls. Well, now I'm hard. Did any shoot/experiences end in conflict or disaster? AKA a disaster story? I don't know about disaster. We had to cancel a shoot twice when the model showed up late, drunk, and high both times. We sent her home and never hired her again. She's fairly well known, but I won't name her. One girl kept taking frequent breaks during her scenes and locking herself in the bathroom for extended periods of time. I don't know what that was all about. Breaks are normal, but they're usually short, and they come after we've shot about 15 to 20 minutes of usable footage, which takes about half an hour due to lighting, photos, touch-ups, etc. This girl literally took a break every 5 minutes. One of her scenes took 6 hours to finish. She was really cute, but she only did a handful of scenes before she quit. How do porn companies make big bucks when most of the porn is free and easily available? Do your customers know that you can get almost any non-niche videos online without paying? Ad deals with tube sites that host preview versions of our scenes and affiliate program participation are both things that boost our revenue. Combined with that, we get enough from legitimate customers to turn a healthy profit. Free porn is great, but not everyone torrents, and we are pretty proactive about getting file locker uploads taken down. The tube sites all cooperate in taking down uploads of our scenes because we have deals with them. How much is it for a job in editing? Do you need prior schooling to get applied? And what video editing software do you prefer? Our editors made $200 per scene, but we were outsourcing to Russians and they don't earn as much as you would in the States. You don't need prior experience. We used Final Cut Pro and virtually everyone uses some brand of professional editing software. FCP, Premiere, Avid, etc. One more. What's the funniest crap you ever witnessed where the whole crew had to cut in order to laugh a while? A scene with one of our most passionate models. She was getting a very fast and intense pounding from one of our biggest stunt cocks in reverse cowgirl, and both of them were really into each other. The energy was fantastic and this was shaping up to be a very special scene. When he lifted her up for the obligatory gape shot and pulled his dick out, she immediately let out a super loud and lengthy fart that reverberated off the walls and stunk up the entire room. Are there ever any porn blooper reels made or released? I'm sure there's a market for it. Yes, you can find a few on sites like ffucked.com. We also have some private blooper reels within the industry. Do porn directors make the porn plot bad on purpose? And do you ever get a turned on power trip directing porn? I never did porn with plot, so I don't know. But probably, you did get power trips sometimes, yeah. Do you keep in contact with any of the actors you worked with? Has anyone ever tried to pull you back into the industry? Yes. I'm pretty good friends with Kendra Starr and I keep in touch with my ex-girlfriend too, who was a former porn star. I'll occasionally catch up with some of the male performers too. Yes, but I have no interest in going back, and I've made that clear to them. Okay, something I've wondered, and since your specialty was filming anal you may be the best to ask. I have heard that girls go through a cleansing process before anal. What does that entail? I can assume the enemas, but do they not eat beforehand? Or how do they really get clean? Which leads me to my next question. With the influx of ATM porn, how do girls keep from getting sick from the residual bacteria that is surely on a dick that has been in an ass, even a cleansed one? Sorry if too gross, but my wife was asking me when we were watching some porn, and me just telling her they use an enema wasn't a satisfying answer. They don't eat for 8 hours prior to the scene. We have them make a bowel movement and then use an enema to flush out anything that might be in there. ATM is a risk that they take. Did you ever see any people with crazy tricks or talents that they would show off? Or any crazy features that they had? We had a fair number of models who could sing really well. A surprising number of tomboys. A couple were gymnasts. One was an engineering major. My favorite hidden talent model was the girl who could fire juggle. She did it for us a couple times at parties. Do you have any examples of people being unable/unwilling to finish shooting their scene? How is this typically handled if, for example, a model suddenly quit halfway through a shoot? Do you just call another girl to come in and finish, or is a day a waste for the rest of the cast and the crew? It happened a few times. You just cancel and scrap the scene. We would try to pick it up the next day if we could, but it wasn't always possible.